Gone without a trace. Untold stories.
True stories from Reddit. Me and my buddy were kids, like 10 years old. We decided to make some cash, raking leaves in people's yards. We went door to door, charging $5 a pop. Eventually, we wandered so far that we ended up at this intersection and realized, holy shit, we have no clue where we are. It got dark, the street lights were dim, and nothing looked familiar. Then, this cop car pulls up. They asked our names and drove us home. Felt like the ride took forever, but we'd only gone 4 blocks. Our parents chewed us out and took all our hard-earned money. My cousin was 4 years old. Our whole family was having a beach day. At some point, he just vanished. We searched for hours and called the cops. We were ready to hire divers and everything. Turns out, the little guy went to the hotel next door to take a dump. He met some other kids there and started playing with them, and the adults figured he belonged to one of the guests. He even had lunch there. Meanwhile, we're all losing our damn minds.
I work for EMS. One time we got called out for this guy complaining about foot pain. We found this super polite dude sitting on the side of the road. His feet were covered in massive blisters. He told us he'd gone to a relative's funeral, got really upset, and decided to take a walk to clear his head. So we just kept walking for 4 whole days. Turns out he lived in the same town where he grew up, 250 miles away from where we found him. We chatted about that place, the local pubs and stuff. He admitted he was dealing with some depression and probably needed professional help. Unfortunately, all we could do was get him a ride to the hospital. Later that shift, I'm scrolling Facebook and see a school buddy posted about a missing person. It was our patient. I called the cops and told them where to find him, and they were so relieved.
I was being treated like crap, so I left a note clearly stating I was never coming back. An hour or two later, the police station called saying they'd gotten a missing person report on me. I explained the whole situation, and they wished me luck. Since I was an adult, I had every right to leave. This was 3 years ago. I had an emotional breakdown in 2015 after losing my job. The whole year was just shit. So I packed my stuff in a backpack, got on my motorcycle, and rode to another city to blow off steam. I brought enough cash to last a week, turned off my phone, and took off. I spent the whole week chilling at the beach, partying, hitting bars and clubs, stayed at a hostel, and hung out with other travelers. It was an amazing week. I really decompressed. When I packed up to head home, cops stopped me at an intersection. Turns out, 2 former co-workers who I'd hung out with after getting fired were worried about me and came by my place to check on me. My neighbors said they hadn't seen me in days. My co-workers started searching all over town, then reported me missing to the police. The cops checked my records, phone activity, saw I hadn't been on social media in forever, and found out I hadn't talked to family in ages. While I was trying to escape my shitty life, everyone was thinking the worst. The police put out an alert for my motorcycle plate, and when I hit the highway, it popped up in the patrol car's computer. That's why they stopped me. The officer was cool about it, just wanted to make sure I was okay. He called dispatch and had me removed from the missing persons list. In Australia, they only remove you from the list after an officer sees you in person. 8 hours later, I got home and realized how many people had been worried about me. Honestly, I thought nobody would give a shit that I disappeared. Otherwise, I definitely would have left a note.
This happened about 10 years ago when I first moved to California with my ex-husband. The neighbor downstairs was a junkie who constantly caused drama. She threatened us, and I finally filed a complaint. The management company told her what I said, which made her even more aggressive. We decided to get away for the weekend and go camping in Yosemite. We bought a tent and told our families we'd be off the grid. But somehow, my sister never got the message. My mom and brother thought the neighbor had murdered us. They called the police. Mom even decided the upstairs neighbor was covering for the killer because I never liked camping. When we got back, I had dozens of frantic messages. My parents were convinced we'd been killed and turned into skin masks. I still try to joke about it sometimes, but nobody laughs. Probably too soon.
I checked myself into a rehab facility. Didn't tell anyone. I was a drug addict and wasn't thinking straight. A week later, the front desk called me. My mom was harassing them, demanding information, claiming I'd been missing for a month. Legally, they couldn't tell her anything. They asked me to call her. When I got out, I had dozens of messages from friends and coworkers. Turns out my friend and brother had been messaging my ex, but he ignored everything. I could have told them where I was and avoided this whole mess. I felt terrible for making so many people work.
When I was about 6, my family was camping in Yosemite. I met this kid and we went exploring. We wandered too far and ran into a bear cub. We just stood there staring at each other. Then we calmly went our separate ways. When we got back, our parents and park rangers were already searching for us. I was just excited about the adventure. But for some reason, the adults didn't think my story was as cool as I did.
I went on vacation for 3 weeks. During the second week, my boss called asking if I was okay. Turns out the police had called him. Someone had filed a missing person report on me. It was my neighbor who got worried because she hadn't seen me in a week. I was actually kind of touched. At least now I know I've got good neighbors.
My brother was listed as missing for a whole year. He disappeared before, but only for a few days. He has paranoid schizophrenia and suffers from hallucinations. We live in New York, and my parents had no idea where to look for him. For a year, we constantly went to the police station to identify bodies. He had no friends, no girlfriend, no close connections. My brother just vanished. A year later, we got a call from a hospital in Washington. My brother had been found on the street in terrible condition. Turns out he'd gone to the Capitol to warn the government about some threat. Because of his illness, he refused to eat because he believed the food was poisoned. The only reason he was still alive was because homeless people had been taking care of him. When they found him, he was covered in flea bites and looked unrecognizable. Now my brother is physically healthy, though mentally he's still struggling. At least he hasn't tried to run away again. Whenever I see homeless people on the street, I always think about this.
One of my earliest memories is getting lost when I was 5 years old. Our whole family went on vacation to Scotland. There was basically nothing to do there, just woods everywhere, so me and my sister decided to play hide and seek. I had this brilliant idea to hide right across from the cottage entrance under this huge bush. I watched my sister look for me for about 5 minutes, then she went back inside. I decided to stick it out and keep waiting. Soon, my parents joined the search, then other vacationers, park staff, and even police officers. I was giggling in the bushes the whole time. Hours passed and it got dark. My yellow jacket started standing out, and finally my sister spotted me. They'd been searching the entire forest all day while I was sitting right across from the house. It was the best game of hide and seek of my life.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to True Stories from Reddit and smash that notification bell so you never miss these mind-blowing stories. See you in the next one.